What's going on? We back, Motor City Sports Talk, speaking on the Detroit Lions today. Later on today, we're going to do a free agency outro video in a scenario where we, try to predict or tell you what free agents the Lions should go after. So we might pick about 10 of them, 5 to 10 free agents that we like to see the Lions bring in or try to predict what they bring in. But today, we speaking on, basically like the final regular free agency spotlight show as we speaking on how the Lions can, potentially upgrade their DB room. That's the cornerback position and the safety positions. And I think they're pretty strong there. But losing Nevin Lawson, he was garbage, and DJ Hayden was garbage. Ever since he had the accident before he came into the draft, he just ain't been the same player that he was at the University of Houston. Quadri Diggs played some nickel. He was outstanding in nickel last year. He was even better at strong safety. They want to have Jamal Agnew start that nickel possibly. And Jalen Tabor started the other cornerback position. But they need a veteran depth. I think they need veteran depth at least the cornerback position and possibly a strong safety position. I think this is the strength of the Lions defense. I will say that. But I think they need depth. I think Malcolm Butler is the ideal guy. The whole free agent, see spotlights we've been doing. It's a lot of guys out there for good value. So it's maybe some teams that overpay like the Jets and the Browns who got a lot of cap space. But a lot of these guys have good value for what they bring into the table at a good price. You can get a Pro Bowler like Malcolm Butler for a good price because Bill Belichick, tarnished his value by not playing him in the Super Bowl and him being benched this year because they paid Stephon Gilmore, didn't pay him. Matt Patricia liked the guy. And it could be a crazy theory because maybe Bill Belichick did that, So a guy like Matt Patricia can get Malcolm Butler at a cheap price. I know it's crazy, but I don't believe that. But that it would be crazy. But yeah, I think he'd be an ideal fit for the Lions from a cornerback position. He's a guy I think can play some nickel, play outside. He can help push Tease Tabor for the starting position if he wins it. I mean, you got two, all pro caliber cornerbacks, at least Pro Bowl caliber cornerbacks on the outside, and Darius Slay and Malcolm Butler. And you got Agnew, who led the college football his last year in college, and pass breakups, and then Tabor, maybe he can play some nickel as well. I'm not sure about those talents, but also you got Quadri Diggs, who's an excellent nickel. So you upgrade your DB room in so many different, in that scenario in so many different ways. You got versatility. You got Diggs that can play the nickel. You got Agnew who can provide kick return, who can play the nickel. You got Tabor that can play outside, and him and Malcolm Butler can push each other and see who win that position. The other can slide on the inside of the nickel. Maybe Butler can play some safety as well. So that scenario right there is very, very key. Now you're talking about E.J. Gaines. He's another guy that might get more than people thought he did because he's one of the top covered corners this year with the Buffalo Bills. And maybe the Lions might feel that he's a system fit. But I think it's more of value here. I think they believe in Tabor. But I just think they want to get a veteran cornerback that can push him and mentor him and make sure he's really, really there. Because you forget Tabor's only almost 6'3", 6'2", long arms, good ball skills, not the most athletic guy. He got excellent ball skills and technique, and that could take you a long way at the cornerback position. So, like I said about the Richard Sherman thing, even though he signed with 49ers, San Francisco, in my opinion, I didn't think we needed him. That was overkill. Because I think Tabor is ready, potentially a year or next year, next year or this year he possibly could be ready. So you get a guy like Butler, who value on the stock, on the market ain't that high. And you can get a Pro Bowl caliber corner and add some depth for, good value, unless somebody just breaks the bank for him, which I don't think is going to happen, but I've seen crazier things happen. Tremaine Johnson is another guy who's primarily an outside corner. He's good in the red zone, but outside of that, he get burnt a lot. He may get overpaid somewhere. But there's other cornerbacks out there we've talked about. But I think Malcolm Butler is the ideal fit for the Lions in the situation they in my opinion. Now you're talking about strong safety help. I think it's two guys I like. I like Eric Reed because then again, you bring in Eric Reed from the San Francisco 49ers. He another guy that his value on the market is dropped. And it's probably piss poor because he kneeled. He was following Kaepernick. He kneeled, and a lot of people frowned upon him, but he brings the attitude to this defense as well. He made some runs with the 49ers at the end, I believe, or maybe he came after those runs, but Butler brings a championship caliber swagger to the Lions, but Eric Reed will bring enforcer, Cam Chancellor type of mentality here. And not only is he a big hitter, he can cover in a nickel. That's the crazy thing about it. He's a good cover corner in a nickel. So then again, you add another guy that can play the nickel with Quadre Diggs. You got two strong safeties that's interchangeable. And don't forget you got Miles Killebrew as well, who can just end up, turning into a linebacker, just adding a little bit more weight. I think that may happen for him. But Eric Reed definitely provides some sauce for the defense. He provides them with an attitude. I think it would be smart to bring him in because he ain't going to cost that much. And he's versatile. You got a lot of guys that's versatile. You know what I'm saying? Butler can play inside, outside. You got Eric Reed that can play strong safety that can jump in on the inside. You can play free safety because he can cover with his range. You got Quandre Diggs who can big hitter, who can play nickel, and who a ball hawk, who a big hitter enforcer. I mean, look at the possibilities and what they can do. As long as they just get a front seven that can provide some pressure. You got, Diggs who got 3 interceptions since moving strong safety at the end of the year. You got Tease Tabor, who was known as a ball hawk at college. You got Malcolm Butler, who made big interceptions. You got Glover Quinn, who's a ball hawk in the back. You got Reed, who can be a ball hawk, who can be an enforcer. You got Darius Slay, who's becoming a ball hawk, who's very fast, twitchy. And then at that point, if you cover those in the free agency and you get some upfront help, I mean, with Patricia's scheme, he's going to have a talented defense if he's able to do it. But, again, he's another guy that's in the fold. Trey Boston, he's a guy with the Panthers. For some reason, he didn't fit in with that cover 2 shell type defense. He didn't fit that. He goes to the San Diego, he becomes the absolute truth. Big hitter, ball hawk in the backfield, very rangy guy. He going to get paid. he ain't going to be no Eric Reed value. He going to get paid because of what he brings in the backfield, his range. He's much more of a high risk guy for high money because he was good in San Diego, but he failed to provide in that Carolina defense. But if you look on film before you even sign him and see that he's good for your defense, he fits in the scheme. I mean, you pay him big money because he's a turnover machine. He got range in that backfield. I like the Lions to get him, but when you got somebody in Eric Reed who provides some nickel coverage and he could do the same thing, who's a big hitter. I mean, you get him, because he's cheaper and, whatever. But I wouldn't mad if the Lions got Trey Boston. He's a budding superstar. And I think Eric Reed in Detroit will be a superstar here as well once people see actually he gets around a solid organization, that Patricia and Bob Quinn could provide him the platform to really be good and really make plays. In San Francisco, nobody's looking at them because they just didn't have a quarterback no more. The quarterback play was piss poor and the team around the offense was piss poor. And I think this would be, Eric Reed's revival to the NFL. He's from the DBU of the South of LSU, and we know, you get a chance to get one of those guys. I know Martha wants these high character guys that don't kneel, that don't do this and that. Sometimes you got to take a risk. He's a good guy off the field. You don't hear nothing about bad off the field. He just took a stance for what he believed in, but, it is what it is. There's other DBs out there, but I think these are the guys. I think Malcolm Butler is the ideal fit for the Lions. I really do. I think at worst, he can help usher in Tease Tabor to being the starting cornerback. I think Butler can relate to Tabor better than Slay can relate to Tabor. It's crazy that might sound because Butler and Tabor they're not really fast, switchy athletes. Butler is predicated on technique, getting your hands on you at the line, and his ball skills, his technique and positioning. Tabor is the same thing. Tabor is a lot taller than Butler and longer, but they play the same way. Their ball skills and technique are impeccable, And I think he can help usher that in and spell him when he's having rough games and help, do that. And not every day where you don't have to break the bank for all pro caliber Super Bowl winning cornerback. So if you're able to do that's the first call that I'm making. I understand the Lions have front seven needs, and we'll address those in the last free agency spotlight we're going to do tonight in the outro. I addressed those in there, and they plan for the draft. But really, I think Butler should be one of the first people they call overall. And I think he'd be ideal. I mean, and then you can bring in Reed. I think both of those guys would be ideal because of the versatility and the mentorship that both can bring. Both have good pedigree. And I think those are the two calls I think the Lions should make first. And then you go up front and grab some big fellas up front and get they're going to have to do pass rush by committee. I'll talk about that tonight. It's going to have to be by accumulation. They re-signed Kerry Hyder. Obviously, we know they franchise tag Ziggy Ansah. Then in the midst of trading Eric Ebron, maybe they're looking for some pass rush help through trading for Eric Ebron. But like I said, later on we get into the real deep stuff. But like I said, I love the Lions backfield. I'm probably one of those guys that was always wondering. Actually, I was why Carjay Diggs was still on this team. But we see now why. We see why. He's definitely a ball player. He's a playmaker. He's a baller. And if he could be one of your depth guys, your backup guys, to Eric Reed and to Agnew or Butler and Tabor, I mean, you got depth there. And we know injuries happen in the NFL. You got to be prepared. And they got depth there. And I think with that depth being that backfield, and I think potentially the Lions have depth up front. If you're able to push Kerry Hyder to the second team, you're able to push Zettel to your second team, Spence to your second team, you're able to bring in defensive tackle, a starting defensive end, a starting defensive tackle like a Star Lelute or Sheldon Richardson or Dante Poe, and you're able to bring in an outside pass rusher via trade or whatever and put him with Zeke Ansah, and you're able to fill the linebacker plugs in the draft or in free agency, however you want to do it. Then you significantly upgraded your defense. And people say it take time, but you have depth up, at least in your front four. Your starters are now your backups. Now you know what I'm saying. I mean, your backups are now your starters. Your starters are actually your backups from last year for the most part. And now you're bringing in fresh legs. You rotate, and then the linebacker position. To get into a little bit of preview. Just overall, the Lions the middle linebacker is the hardest one to find. So they need to find some more outside linebackers, which should be a breeze, really. Because most of these NFL teams are playing, 3 receivers at least, so they always in nickel. So, I'm definitely feeling this scenario, but we'll see. I'm probably way off from what the Lions are actually thinking, but we're gonna do that video later on tonight, so y'all be prepared, or later on today.